And a Muslim will be saying, well, yeah, but you got to write it in Arabic because Arabic's the most beautiful language in the world. It's the language of God, and it won't do to do it in English or French or anything. Well, wait a minute. 80% of the Muslims in the world can't even speak Arabic or read Arabic.
Can you outline basic arguments against Islam and Buddhism? Just a quick question.
Quick answer, right? Hang on a second.
We got lots of time, so.
I've got a sneeze coming up here. Oh.
I have no witty filler to put in there, so.
Okay. So, for Islam, what I will do, I was saying this to a couple people before coming out here, some back in the room, for Islam, I do think it's one of the most easily refuted religions in the world. And there's a number of ways I go after it. One thing I do is what's called the Islamic catch-22 argument. And so one of the things about Islam is they say that Jesus never died. And that's based on the Quran's teaching in Surah 4, that God only made it appear that he died, but he never died. And so I say, well, I give 3 historical reasons for believing that Jesus actually predicted his death. It's not based on the historical reliability of the Gospels or their divine inspiration. It's using pure historical method and an approach and say we can show historically that Jesus predicted his imminent death. Now, if Jesus didn't die, then that makes him a false prophet. But the Quran says that he's a great prophet, so in that case, the Quran would be wrong. The other option is that Jesus did die, but in that case, the Quran says he didn't, so the Quran is wrong there. Either way, the Quran is mistaken. So the Muslim is caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place, and the only way out of that is to say, well, Jesus never predicted his death. And I said, well, I've given you 3 historical reasons for believing that he did. You have to refute all 3 of those. You just can't say, oh, I don't believe it. Give me some reasons why not to believe it other than, well, it doesn't bode well with your worldview. And that way you're being guided by your biases, not by the data. And that's a difficult position to be in. When you say, I'm not going to listen to the data, I'm not going to listen to the facts, don't confuse me with them because that's not the way I was raised. So that's one thing I say to the Muslim. A second thing I say is, look, we can prove historically that Jesus' disciples were going out, they sincerely believed and were preaching that Jesus rose from the dead and had appeared to them. Even atheist and agnostic New Testament scholars who studied the subject agree such, that the evidence is good enough to suggest that beyond a reasonable doubt. So we can understand, if the Quran is correct, why God would want to deceive Jesus' enemies into thinking that he had died but didn't. But why would God want to deceive the followers of Jesus? And as a result, form the largest religion in the world. Doesn't seem too wise of God, right? And the Quran, on a number of occasions, refers to Jesus' disciples as Muslims. So that means that God was willing to deceive not only non-believers, but also Muslims. And if he was willing to deceive Muslims, the followers of Jesus, how do you know that he's not deceiving you right now? So that's a problem. The third problem that I give is the only test that the Quran gives to know whether it's true is it says, and it says this on several occasions, if you want to know if the Quran is true, then try to write a surah, a chapter, just like one in the Quran, and you'll find that you can't. In fact, you can find all the wisest, best people that you can find and try to construct a surah like this, and you'll find that you can't. And then one of the surahs say, but by the way, if you even try that, you're damned to hell forever. So here's the test, but if you take that test, you lose. But the Quran has 114 surahs or chapters in it. It's not a narrative like the Gospels. It's more like Psalms. They're all independent. It starts off, the first one's an introductory, and then it goes from the longest, they're not chronological, it goes from the longest down to the shortest. So if you look at the last dozen of surahs in the Quran, they're very short. So you can just do a search for the Quran online if you don't carry one in your house. You can do a search for the Quran online, and you can look at any of the last dozen surahs. I mean, all of them would probably take you 5 minutes to read. And just isolate one of them and say, do I think that I could write something as well as this? And I don't care how bad a writer you are in here, I think you could. And a Muslim will be saying, well, yeah, but you got to write it in Arabic because Arabic's the most beautiful language in the world. It's the language of God, and it won't do to do it in English or French or anything. Well, wait a minute. 80% of the Muslims in the world can't even speak Arabic or read Arabic. And does it really come down? I mean, I can make it rhyme. I can put a little rhythm to it like it would be in Arabic. Yeah, but it's got to be in Arabic. So it really comes down to that? Why? Because you think it's the most beautiful language? What if I don't think Arabic's the most beautiful language? What if I think Spanish or French or German? Well, not German. But what if I think one of these are just as beautiful, if not more beautiful than Arabic? Does it really come down to between what I think is the more beautiful language? Is that what it results in? I mean, that's like choosing between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. That's not a good test. And if it is, since that's the test that the Quran gives, it fails its own test. Because I can create a surah every bit as good, if not better, than one of those in the Quran. So there are a number of things that we can say to refute Islam. Buddhism is a little bit different. I haven't studied that as much, but when I did study it, I did see that with Buddhism, historians aren't even sure when the Buddha lived. In fact, if you ask historians of Buddhism, they'll tell you that they don't even know it within a 2,500 year period. They've got an idea, but they're not at all certain when the Buddha lived. And then when you look at the Pali manuscripts, which are the earliest ones of the Buddhist teachings, it says one thing, but then later on, when you read the later Sanskrit manuscripts from the 1st century, they say something a little bit different. You find miracles of Buddha. You don't find anything like that in Pali. So you find this legend that's developing over time. And so there's not a whole lot that we can know about the Buddha. It's not at all like the evidence we have for the truth of Christianity. So that's, in a nutshell, how I answer those two things.